Today it's time to change the outboard motor oil. The engine has 31 hours and the manual says to change it the first 20 hours. So I'm just a little bit behind, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. And since this is the first initial 20 hours oil change, it is not required to change the oil filter. But I'm going to show you anyway what the oil filter is. Will be 1 gallon completely. Of course, I have a little bit here just in case I need a little bit extra. So it's always good to have a little bit more. Some anti-seize lubricant. It's really important to have some anti-seize because these bolts here that we're going to remove, they require to have some anti-seize, because if you don't put some anti-seize, they will lock on you. These bolts are underneath the water line, so they'll get a lot of salt water. So anti-seize is very important to use. One of this wrench to take out the bolts, and screwdriver, some napkins, and a reservoir for the oil. All right, let's get it started. But before I start the oil change, I would like to start the engine and warm it up a little bit. The reason that I want to turn it on is because I want to warm up that oil before I change it. Alright, so first to start, there's 3 latches that we have to remove. One is right here at the front, one here on the left hand side, and another one on the right. And all you gotta do is carefully pick this up. Alright, this is where the oil filter is. At this time, the manual says not to change the oil filter because it doesn't have enough hours. I only have 31 hours, so this time we're not gonna be changing it. But here it is. If you need to change it, all you gotta do is get a wrench, unscrew your filter, and get your new filter in there. Now to start, we're gonna remove this screw here. The other screw on the left hand side is for this other panel, but we only need to remove this panel, so we're only going to concentrate on this side. So now we need to take this screw here, this other one, that's another one here, and one here. You see where you need some of the anti-seize? At the factory they place some anti-seize on the bolt, so that way it's easy to be removed. So that's why it's very important to put some anti-seize. And there's another one right under here. It's hard to see, but it's right in there. Alright, so this is where your oil drain is. So all we have to do now is remove that bolt there and get the oil out. You see why the oil now comes more liquidy? Because I heat up the engine. That's how I like to take the oil out. Okay, this is the old oil ring, so you're just gonna discard that one, and we're gonna use the new one. Now that I have the oil plug drain already installed with the O-ring, I'm going to place back the cover. Now you see it has some old anti-seize. We're going to remove the old anti-seize. See how it's being removed? It's good to remove it because you don't want to overfill the slots of the screw. Got to take all that out before you put the new anti-seize on. So now we're going to get some anti-seize on this bolt. And now we can't forget the last screw here. Now on top of the engine, you're going to find where your oil goes in. Just put a funnel there. Okay, so now I'm going to check the dipstick. It's all good. Excellent. Alright, and before I put the lid on, I always like to put some silicone spray on the engine to keep everything nice and lubricated. Now we're going to put the cover back on. Make sure you lock the bottom part here, this part here, and also this other one here. Depending on the size of the engine, you might need a little bit of oil. In my case, I needed one and a little bit of the other container here of the gallon. And it's always good to change the oil when it's recommended, especially for me. When I travel to the Bahamas, I may run the engine for 5 hours non-stop, so it does some wear to the oil. That's why it's always good to change the oil. In this case, I didn't have to change the oil filter because only 30 hours, and it recommends it to change it the first 100 hours. So next time to change the oil, definitely I would change the oil filter. Now if you want more information on things I use to change the oil, I will put the link in the description below for the oil, the non-seize, and also the gasket that you use for the bolt for the oil change. You need to change that gasket every single time. It is recommended by the factory. I hope this video helped you to save some money on your oil change. It's very simple to do. Like I show you, all those bolts, remove all those bolts, drain your oil, put your gasket on, and if you have to change your oil filter, if it's not your first initial oil change, then also change the oil filter. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.